The year was 2024. The month was July, and I was in San Diego at San Diego Comic-Con. My company, who has nothing to do with this podcast, threw a party, and there was some kind of band there, and it was a K-pop band, and people were very excited about it. And I said, "What's NCT?" And they looked at me like I was stupid. And then they explained the sub-band thing.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in because you started this saying it was July 2024. So I figured I'd stop you to have you start over to do it again.
Damn it. Stop.
I was about to type that too.
Me too.
It was
I didn't mean to skip.
You guys, hey, you're not even here yet. Shh. The year was actually 2023. Forget all that other stuff. I was still in San Diego. And I didn't know what NCT was. And then I didn't know what an NCT Dojejung was, even though they were performing at our party. And then I had friends explain to me, and I learned a lot about K-pop. Welcome to Big Kid. I'm Chris Hayner. We're talking about K-pop this week, but we're actually recording on Halloween, so I'm wearing my costume. You can only see that if you're watching the video, sucker. So I brought in 3 friends who know everything about K-pop because I know nothing other than the band was fine and they sang 3 songs and like lots of girls were screaming. Please welcome. I didn't even ask you guys how you wanted to be introduced before we were chit-chatting beforehand, so I'm just gonna go off the top of my head. Senior TV writer for The Messenger, I guess, unless you want me to just cut that out. And former work BFF, someone I've worked with across, I don't know, 25 different corporate owners by this point. Megan Vick. Welcome, Megan. Longtime friend, my D&D and my Vampire the Masquerade buddy, and my theme park buddy, Robyn Harney. Welcome, Robyn.
Hi.
And fellow nerd, fellow entertainment journalist. I don't even remember when we first met because I don't remember before we met. But I feel like we see each other most at conventions because that's where people like us hang out. Mm-hmm. Tamara Brooks, hello and welcome everybody.
Woo woo.
Okay. I don't even know where to start because there are so many things. And Robyn, I have all the notes you sent me too. For listeners, Robyn 100% sent me a list. I recognized a lot of the words on this list until you explained to me what they meant in K-pop terms, and it was nothing like what I thought it was. So,
I love an outline. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to put it like this. If you're me, the extent you know about K-pop is a lot of your friends are into it. And also BTS is a thing because they have emotes in Fortnite. I bought them because I'm cool. And I can make my guy do 2 different versions of the Dynamite dance, I think, or the Dynamite choreography. Mm-hmm. But what I'm now learning is there is so much more. I just want to find out where your guys' entry points were, like what brought you into K-pop. And I'm going to start with Tamara because it sounds like you were there first. You're old school.
Yeah, I am an early adopter, as one might say. I was a teenager and my oldest sister had her first job at that point, so they could afford the fancy cable packages that had international channels included. So I went to visit her one weekend and they're like, her and her best friend, shout out to Jessica, they were like, we have to show you this. And I was like, oh, okay, what is it? So they had, there was a weekly show that showed the top 10 music videos from Korea and the K-pop shows. And so in 99, the biggest group was a group called HOT. And HOT stands for High Five of Teenagers. There are 5 of them. K-pop groups really like their acronyms. They really like to have it stand for things.
Wait. I'm sorry. Did you say it was HOT, like hot?
Yes.
And it stood for what?
High Five of Teenagers. So there's 5 of them. They're all teenagers. And they like to use English words and not entirely know how to it's great because like sometimes they'll be like, it stands for what? And I'm like, you know what? It's fine. And so they started showing me music videos, and it was amazing because also what I discovered at that point is the dichotomy between fast songs and ballads. The gulf is very wide. Ballads are like little mini K-dramas. Like there's one video I saw, I'll never forget it, but I don't know what artist it was, where it was a love triangle between a woman who owned a small airplane company, the mechanic, and the pilot. And so there's a fight that happens towards the end of the song. And she's like, I have to get out of here and think about things. So she gets in her plane and you see a shot and the plane goes by and there's a mountain. And then you see an explosion and then the video is over. And I was like, this is delightful. Yes. I was so in at that point. I was so very in. So that is my first thing. So like, I know a lot of the earlier groups. I know Boa, who is like Janet Jackson, like Korean Janet Jackson. Like she's been around since she was 14. Every new album is a reinvention. She's a legend's legend. I've known her since she came out and was like 14 or 15. I saw her early stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like this really interesting thing now to be, 24 years later and be like, oh, you guys don't even know half the people I know. That's fascinating. And they call like 30-year-olds like granny fans. And I'm like, we won't talk about it then. Like these are like, oh, about second gen, you're so old. And I'm like, cool. Let's not discuss how long I've known about it then. But yeah, that is, and it's so bright and shiny. There's a lot of really hard dancing. Very talented singing wise, and just they continue to make interesting music videos, and that's part of the reason why I stay. So yeah, 1999, and we still have the album somewhere. Like that's another thing. Like in 1999, they're trying to charge you $30 for a CD when you're like, why am I paying $30 for nothing? But man, the K-pop packaging, which we'll get into later, worth that $30 back in 1999 prices, $40 or something like that. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, that is my origin story.
I love it. All right, Megan, hit me with it.
I will do the abridged version, which was I was working on a Grammys post in early spring 2021. And I knew enough about BTS to know, I should put a picture of them in the Grammy nominations post. But I was doing a composite photo. I didn't have room to get all 7 of them. And I had a panic attack trying to crop it and then make sure that I had identified the right one within the photo. Cause I knew if the photo went out and I was wrong, and it just was a moment of reckoning for me that I was like, if they spoke English and they were this famous, I would know their names.
Interesting.
So I was like, okay, just as a pop culture journalist and a person who works in this space, it is negligent of me to not know, to actively avoid them as I've avoided them. And so I started to go try to learn their names, which I would later learn is the trap. As soon as you do that, that is you've given up.
Oh, is that how they get you?
That's just, hey, I just want to learn their names. And then next thing you know, you will have this wall behind me that you have. And I was also just going through with a really, really hard time personally. And I realized that I was watching compilation videos at 3 a.m. and it was sort of the only thing that was keeping me sane. And then when the Butter music video came out, I was officially ready to acknowledge that I'm oh, this makes me happy. I'm ready to fully embrace this whole situation. So yeah, that's the entry point of how I got here, and then it just went further down. It was a steep slope after that. Then you start adding groups and et cetera, et cetera.
And then if you are the true fan, you bring other people into the fold. Hi, Robyn.
Hello.
Let's talk about you, because I just found out I played a role in this, kind of, and I'm proud.
You kind of did, but really, I mean, my origin is Megan. Megan became a fan first, and we were spending that summer together while it was, still during the pandemic, but we were sort of coming out of it and starting to spend time together, but in open air spaces. And she had started talking to people about it, trying to evangelize and get people on board. And all of our friend group was like, leave us alone, stop talking, and being very resistant. And I remember we were at our friend Lindsay's birthday party around her pool, and Megan was talking to us about something that no one understood. I think I have since learned it was Festa, BTS Festa and waking up or something in the middle of the night and watching a concert and how much joy it brought her. And I could not wrap my head around the concept of how waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning to watch a concert until 4 a.m. could bring anyone joy. And I was one of the same friend group that was like, leave me alone. No. And I left that party and I got in the car and Butter was on the radio. And I listened to it and went, this is not going to work for me. And I pushed back and I kept resisting for another 4 or 5 months. And then finally in October of 2021, at your going away party, Chris, when you moved from California to Florida, I caved and I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. They're everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. I started liking the music. Tell me what you can tell me, Meg. And it was an even steeper slope than how I just dove real fast. And within like a week, I had learned about BTS and Stray Kids, and then a week later, TXT. So I was a multi-stan before November hit.
I mean, I will say it was surprising to me. Like when you got into it, I was like, this might just end up being Megan's thing. And then I started watching friends join you in this group. And I was like, I don't this was the thing where I felt old. Everyone has that moment when they're like, oh no, I'm the old guy who doesn't get it. I feel like this was my thing, but I feel like the further you dig into it's like, because again, Robyn, you walked me through a lot of it today, and I still can't really comprehend how it's so incredibly complex between relationships between fans, bands, whether or not you can like other bands, who is your favorite member of the band. You explained Wreckers to me, which I thought would be the worst member of the band, but is really your kind of maybe secret favorite member of the band who might take over for your bias, which is a whole other thing.
So Chris, the best way to describe K-pop as a fandom and the way that it might confuse and scare people is that it's like comic books.
Oh, so, God, no.
But you see what I'm saying? So it's like comic books can be very daunting. And you're like, BTS is like Batman, right? Everybody knows him. There's a lot of them around. There's no way that you cannot know of Batman, even if you don't know a lot about them. But then there's a lot of other stuff going on. There's like subgenres, like there's R&B, there's all this other kind of stuff. Just like comics, there's a lot of options for you. There's zines, there are all the other kind of things. But trying to get friends into comic books, because I also did when I was a teenager and trying to be like, oh, comic books, people were like, no, get out of here. You know, like that. It's that same. It's a very similar thing to me, and it also has a lot of terminology. Like you try to explain people, Secret Wars and how I think it's going to be Battle Worlds in the Marvel movies is wild. It's wild, but we know about this stuff, so it's easy to talk to people about it. It's the same thing. Fandom is also very same because there's collecting poster cards, there's exclusive covers and alternate covers. It's the same thing.
So this is okay. Yes. Okay. Perfect. I'm so glad you brought that up, because the photo cards and just the goodies and the trinkets, I feel like that. And actually, Megan, we were vaguely talking about it on Slack today. It feels like that K-pop influence is making its way into American music.
I think we've seen it like hugest way. I think the Slack conversation that you're alluding to was about Taylor Swift and the recent 1989 Taylor's version, and sort of how her latest releases going back to the COVID albums and maybe even a little bit further have adopted more of a K-pop marketing style, which is that there are these multiple versions and you're trying to entice people to buy every version, and so for K-pop it is they have photo cards. So I did bring one of this is just one of my binders.
Wait, that's one of your albums of photo cards? It's so thick.
Because also, I will say, this. So this is what I call my OT7 binder. So it is BTS. It's purple, as you can see.
What does OT7 mean?
1 through 7. So
Is it
like
because
it's
there's
just
7
basically like
members of
it's my whole crew, because I also have a different binder that is like specifically for my bias. I keep his cards like
Okay.
separate, because if you try to collect all 7, then like congrats on being a millionaire. But yeah, so like this binder has it's not just photo cards. I've put a lot of like album inclusions in here, so you can like kind of see that there's like postcards.
Like, what the hell?
That's so, what I'm saying.
So it's like when you buy an album, there's so much. It's not just a CD. It's not just a lyric book. There are collectible posters, postcards, and photo cards. That
are there ever like signed photo cards or signed trinkets or whatever? Like, do they dabble in autographs? Oh, what's this, Robyn?
Can you see
who is that?
it?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
That is Felix from Stray Kids, aka Youngbok. And yes, you can buy autographed photo cards or postcards, but they make them very rare. There's only certain stores that sell them for a limited edition at a certain time, and they sell out very quickly. And then the only other way to get autographed versions of anything is if you win a call with them or win a fan sign opportunity where they will autograph the whole group will autograph the album, and you either win that or you buy it from someone who won it. So I also have, I don't know if you can see that because there's a cover on it.
Wow.
That's the entire group of Stray Kids.
Now, what does something like, and if you'd rather we don't talk about it, that's fine. What does something like that retail isn't even the right word, but like, is this a like, oh, it's like $80-$100, or are we talking like this is like a couple $100 for something signed by the whole band?
It's going to vary. So A, it's going to vary on what group it is, and B, it's going to vary like what kind of event it was. So for something like Robyn was talking about, like a fan sign, it again, depending on the group and how many people there are, you're not going to get one for less than $100. That is like that is the lowest it could possibly be for any tier group. If you have the entire group sign it, you are more likely to get like one member or something. And then it goes up in rate. So like there have been things where so like BTS is the Beatles of K-pop basically at this moment. And each of the members has been doing their like solo activities, and a couple of them have done like solo performances at very small venues with like 200 to 300 people in them.
Oh wow.
And they get when you go to those, you get gifts from the artists, and a lot of them have autograph. So something like that is going to cost you in the hundreds towards thousands of dollars. Whereas if it's a more popular group that's doing more of these activities more frequently where they're signing stuff, then it's cheaper because there's more of it in the market. So it really just depends on like what is the item, when did they sign it, where did they sign it, and who signed it.
BTS as a group also haven't done fan signs for a long time, the way other newer groups still continue to do them. So it also depends on how rare something is and how easy it is to continue to get them. So if a group is still very active and doing these regularly, they are not as expensive. So for me, the individual photo card that I just got this in a regular album. So I only had to pay a regular album price for this, but I had to be online, ready to go, checking out the second that they dropped, and they sold out within 2 minutes, I think. And then I got lucky I didn't actually get this member. This is my bias. I didn't get him. I had to get a different member, but I got lucky that I got a member that I was able to trade for my bias.
So that's also another key point is that like, especially when it comes to signed items, like there's one signed item per album. So like if you take Stray Kids, for example, in that particular album, there's 8 members. And Robyn has one of the more popular biases. You can buy just one album and hope you pull him, but it's a 1 out of 8 chance. And if you pull a member that isn't easy to trade from, so you buy multiple albums to increase your chances of pulling your bias, or at least someone that you can then trade for your bias.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Robyn, when we were on the phone earlier, the thing I said to you after you explained so much of this video is like, it sounds like a scam. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way at all. I mean, it sounds like they just keep coming up with new ways like, there's another way to cash in on this, which would be smart, but like, Tamara, has it always been this way? Like going back to when you were first getting into it, like, or was it this big of a commercial venture, I guess?
I think it probably to a degree was. So it was a little harder at that point. They did have posters, they did have things like that, but I don't remember how many like individual cards and things there were. I think that's a newer thing. And I think that as time had gone on, the industry has gotten much smarter about like what merchandise that you put out and what people are willing to buy. Because, if you buy a full, CD release and it's the fancy one, you can find people who will want it. It's not like you're going to just be sitting on it. It's not like you bought, 15 issues of X-Men #1 from 1997 and it's the lenticular wraparound and then it's the regular wraparound and then it's the individual panels and now you have to figure out if you can sell them. It's not like that. It's easier to find other fans who are going to want these things. But I think they've gotten way smarter on the stuff that they can sell and the price range and also just the product range. They're doing stuff in the personal beauty. They're doing like it's the level of just finesse that I wish some of my favorite things could approach. Like, how hard it is as a Wonder Woman fan to find anything that isn't just like bitches love a logo slap. Let me just put that on there. You know what I mean? So like I just really wish that just even a tenth of this intelligence in the market, they understand that it's largely girls and we have money and it gives us serotonin and we just want it makes us happy.
That's the thing. I can't come down on any of it. I literally up here, I bought the version of Taylor Swift Midnight's album that came with a signed photo that is now framed on my wall. And I happen to get the autograph with the heart on it. I'm just that good. And like, you can see behind me, like I spend money on all sorts of things just because I'm a fan. But I feel like we haven't seen it like this in music before. I'm kind of excited because yes, when Taylor announced not Midnight's 1989 Taylor's version, I waited until a color album I liked was announced because I was like, oh, I don't really like the way this one looks. But the way this works now is there's going to be 20 more of these over the next month that I'm going to get to choose from, and I'll find the color I want.
That's great for you that you haven't been conditioned. I have been K-pop conditioned. So the second
to
she
buy
announced
everything,
the vinyl, I bought it as soon as possible because I was terrified it was going to sell out. And then there's just more on top of more. So now I have two of those.
I bought all 4 of the smaller versions that had the PCs in them so that I could have all of Taylor's first PCs because I wanted the that experience of having the biggest Western artist that we have and her very first PCs released. But I want to go back to
wait. What are PCs?
PCs, photo cards.
The photo cards, yeah.
Photo cards.
Yeah, I call them poster cards sometimes, but it's photo cards.
Yeah. I want to go back to where you were joking that it sounds like a scam, but then really went into how it's just a crazy marketing machine. That's actually part of what intrigued me, and I think why I did such a deep dive so quickly. In addition to loving the music and you instantly care about these people, the idea of this industry and how everywhere else, and all of us work in entertainment in some form or fashion, we're looking at an industry where home entertainment has disappeared. I've seen people lose their jobs because no one is buying DVDs. And we're
except Chris Hayner.
Except Chris
who
Hayner.
Still buys Blu-rays and 4Ks and DVDs. I genuinely bought a brand new actual DVD recently because it's not available on Blu-ray.
Good for you. I still have my collection. I will not get rid of them because I like having physical media. But
absolutely,
it's that part of the industry is gone for us. And yet we're looking at an industry that can sell millions of physical copies while another industry is entirely dying. And I was so interested in how does that work? Why is that happening? And why are we as an industry not using that as an example? And that's really where I learned that it's not only about the marketing, but also the relationship the parasocial relationship that these groups have with the fandom, that these fans will go out of their way to spend every dollar that they have to buy all of these things because you feel like you are directly supporting the artist.
I like that. I know there is a more toxic side of the fandom, but setting that aside for now, like, I love the fact, and I feel like this is a thing that happens in music that doesn't happen in other forms of entertainment, where you can feel like you're developing some form of relationship or connection with these artists. You love them so much and their words speak to you so deeply. Like, I love Mike Flanagan shows, but like, I'm not at home being like, oh, Mike Flanagan, you just speak to my soul. Like, that doesn't happen. That is a weird thing that only happens with music. And I like that. Sure, I'm sure some of the fans might take it too far, but I don't know. It's I love that. I love that they can just be fans.
I will jump in there to say that, like, K-pop takes it one step further, and I think the reason that it becomes so addictive is because they've mastered this idea of a mutual parasocial relationship, right? Typically, when the relationship with a Western artist, or at least as I've experienced it growing up, is that, like, yeah, you really love an artist and they really speak to you. And, like, people say that they're thankful for their fans, but it still feels one way of, like, they have so much meaning to you, but you don't feel like you've actually impacted them in any way outside of those general, like, award concession speeches. I will say the only Western artist, like, in the ballpark is Taylor Swift, and look what it's done for her. Whereas with K-pop, they really, and some of it is fan service, but they genuinely put an emphasis on the fact that, like, the artist's relationship with their fans is just as important as the fans' relationship with them. Like, whether that's live chats, whether it's like the fan calls that they do, the amount of work that they put into making fans feel like they are an important part of their success is something that Western artists don't necessarily replicate. And it is sort of what brings this loyalty out in K-pop fans. And that can go too far to this sense of entitlement that you feel, that certain fans feel, and that they're the reason why these people are successful. So these, like, when an artist, Jungkook from BTS, who is my bias, when he got his, like, Hot 100 #1, he went and commented on Weverse, which is their social media platform, and was like, let's go. And there are fans who are like, how dare he say that and not say that he's, like, thank you to us for getting his, what is, like, that's that entitlement sometimes where it can be toxic.
Yeah.
And I don't, but it's, like, for the most part, it is that, like, we're K-pop groups, their companies and the artists themselves put a lot of emphasis on the fact that, like, fans are a part of this success and they care as much about us as we care about them. And that is a like cornerstone of their marketing plan.
And I think that one of the things that helps this be as huge as it is versus earlier when I was paying attention, when I got into it, is there was no social media platforms like this. There are message boards and things like that, but the visibility of now outpaces, every 5 years, it kind of outpaces the last 5 years of, like, how much information people could get to and how much access you kind of have like how much, communication directly with an artist that you can have. And, like, additionally, all of these artists are younger. So they're all, or actually legitimate children. Like, some, they start training when they're super, super young, when they're like 12, 13, 14. They, like, leave their family, move in, and train with the studios, which is wild. It's not the greatest.
Robyn told me about this earlier. This sounds insane, and I'd love to talk about this, but let's keep going on this thought, because
we'll get back to that. But so these are all, they're young, they're people talking to people of their same age, and they're people who grew up with social media, and there's a certain amount of openness and vulnerability and honesty that kids today, or younger people today, have, because they grew up with these platforms that we didn't. Like, we're still like, what happened to don't trust anything that people say, and don't trust a stranger, don't give your stranger your information, don't jump in that van. But a lot of people are digitally jumping into vans, like, they're giving your information out and things like that, because it's so ubiquitous that nobody thinks anything bad's going to happen to it, because technically, statistically, nothing much has happened. So that direct communication really helps with getting that parasocial relationship really ingrained, because it's not just, I'm watching this live, I'm commenting on it, and they're looking at my comments, and they might see my comment and actually look at it in real time and talk, and that's a free thing. You don't have to pay for Instagram. I mean, you pay for it. It's not free. You pay for it in your soul a little bit, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, I think that level of connection and closeness, because, again, first gen, I'm in there. It's, year two. I have to go down to K-Town to get my stuff, and not really knowing where exactly I'm going to find it, not having a car at that point. I'd have to, it was harder to get to at that time. So I wasn't as into it as I could have been, which even now I am keeping a respectable distance, because I am a nerd and a collector, and I am doing my best not to fall headfirst into that space, because I know me. I'm not reading comic books and collecting them like I used to. I have this itch of collecting things and buying things, and this is so in there.
I don't know what that's like.
Yeah, I don't. So I'm currently in a moment where I'm not obsessively collecting anything, and it is so easy. It is so easy.
Like?
I want to applaud because it's so hard. I've recently cut down my groups, and that was hard enough. I can't, cutting them out entirely is wow. Applause.
The relationship between fans and Tamara, I feel like of the people in this room, you'll be the one that understands what I'm saying. It reminds me a lot of pro wrestling. It reminds me a lot of fans and wrestlers have this very weird tie where they are oddly open with each other, they are oddly close, and they influence each other. This coming on the heels of a weekend where WWE literally released a documentary about one of their fans, and it was great. But it's interesting because that stood out to me, Meg, because you were speaking about how it's something outside of Taylor that we don't really see in Western artists. And it's true. I feel like this is something I would see a lot in terms of pro wrestling, especially on the higher level independent scene. But I would never expect something like this from actors or musicians or anything. But it seems like a really good idea. It seems like pretty successful.
It does seem like a really great idea, and obviously, there are downsides to it. There's a lot of stalking and invasions of privacy within K-pop, but that is true of within any fandom, I would say. It happens, but I understand that those are the stories that present themselves the most often, I think, to the Western media about K-pop. And so when the West is looking at what are these marketing strategies that we can use, I think they get intimidated by that. And there's a lot of reasons sort of why I think it hasn't taken hold in the West. One, it is these agencies take these kids at a super young age, and they're in a dorm, they're away from their families. And that's a different level of work, commitment.
Okay. Let's stop. Yeah, let's stop there for a second. Is that I guess I just don't understand how any of this works. Obviously they're not taking children, they have families' permission and whatnot. Is that just a difference in culture between culture here and culture there, where it doesn't seem as out there? How does any of this work?
Well, there's a lot. There are stories of scouts from going out and handing their cards to people they see on the street if they think that they could be good, and so that does happen. It's it's like scouting anybody here in America for modeling or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's that same level of this could be legitimate, and also again the aforementioned kidnappers ban. This might be somebody who's doing there's a lot of people who there's Jackson Wang, who's from GOT7, was on Kelly Clarkson, supporting his American tour and his last album, talking about how he's from China and his family, his parents were we don't want you moving there. They're going to kidnap you, and it's going to be a whole thing. They didn't want him to move to Korea to figure this out. And so there is that hesitation. It's not like people are just willingly throwing their babies at these companies, but it's also such a prevalent industry, and it's so many people who want to get in and do it. So if you're 14 or 15 and you definitely know this is something you want to do, then you will try and do your audition and clear and have your opportunity to do that. It's like kid actors, you know, even though I think there's a higher percentage of K-pop trainees who are 100% there because they want to do it than kid actors are in there doing it. I think that's kind of one of the differences. But you know, kid actors are acting because they want to act mostly. So it's that same sort of thing. If you know that's something you want to try and pursue, then if you know, you could have the support to do it. But it is a very hard industry to break through. And even if you get through it's like years of training. People go through like sometimes 7, 8, 9, 10 years of training before they even get to debut. And then once you do debut, there's no guarantee that your group is going to be a big, or if they do solo work, there's no guarantee because it's so many groups and so much opportunity there. So you really have to know that that's the thing you want to do. It's like being a writer. I'm writing because I have no choice. It's 100% the thing I love the most because it is annoying and it is hard. Otherwise, I would not be here doing it. You know what I mean? Like, so I love it. It's great. It's very rewarding, but it's also annoying and hard. So but yeah, very young, and they, you know, there's some questionable things that we won't get into, like in terms of like, oh man, I always worry if they're eating. That's my big thing. I'm like, are they feeding your babies?
They do look very thin.
They're so thin, but it's also like they're literally 16, so they don't have any body fat yet. A lot of like, you know, they don't have a system yet. So it's like a combination of those two things. But I always like because like my whole thing is like making sure people eat. So like whenever I see these,
when I was 16, I had plenty of body fat. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah,
these kids should have some of my grandma's food. They'll get it.
That is true. That's why I always want to I'm like carry some mac and cheese to a concert. Do you want like a cookie? Can I give you food just to make sure you eat? It's 100% a thing. Yeah.
But you also have to realize like the physical caliber of these performances, even for rookie groups, like the amount, like the ability to sing and dance the intense choreo that they are dancing requires years of physical training. And that's what it is. Not to say that doesn't get abused sometimes, because it does. But like that training is, they are performing at like elite athletic levels to be able to put on the performances that they perform on the and they don't get breaks. Like that's another thing with K-pop, is that like you're expected, especially in early group, to release 2 to 3 albums a year and promote those. So like it's you have to be in physical shape to be able to maintain that kind of pressure.
And that's also why there are more mini albums than full albums. It's like 5 to 6 songs because they're producing so many of them at such a given point in time. So they're not doing 10, 12 songs on the albums.
But they're still doing as much work promoting them every time.
Absolutely.
Is that why Doja Jung only had 3 songs?
Go for it, Tamara.
I was gonna say they probably have like 5 or 6 on the album, but yes, they performed the 3 songs there because that's why.
Yeah, they're also a relatively new offshoot of NCT, so they haven't been around.
They're an NCT offshoot.
Okay, so
but people were very excited.
Is like the X-Men. There's a grip of them. There are so many NCT members. I think there's 38 of them total on the main, like if you just call for all of them. But then you have these subunits. And so those are your X-Forces, your X-Men Blue and Red, your Gen X. That's the best way that I can describe NCT.
It was really interesting because I thought, in fact, Robyn, I think I told you, I was like, yeah, man, there's like a K-pop band that's playing our party, NCT or something like that.
And I went, there's no way
you were like
your party.
That is not possible. No, and I went back and I asked her, I was like, is it NCT? They're like, yeah, it's NCT : Doja Jung. And I'm like, I was like,
oh, that makes more sense. I was like, okay, you got a few members of NCT. Okay.
The party would be at capacity with just them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the upstairs bar at the Hard Rock.
To Petco Park, because like they could definitely fill a stadium.
Yeah.
No, it was between that, which like obviously it was a very stripped down performance compared to normal, because like I've seen the videos that friends of mine post when they go to concerts on Instagram, and oh my God, like, yes, look, yes, I went to the Eras tour. It was incredible. Yes, I went to U2 in the Sphere. It changed my life. I don't know if it was for the better, but it changed my life. These are usual. I feel like when a band is on like their first real American tour, it's not stadiums. It's not like insane light shows and pyro and all this other. These are big honking shows. And it looks like a friggin' party. I don't even know where to start.
That's usually,
Megan, what? Go. Yes, go.
Sorry, I was just gonna say that's usually not for a K-pop group's very first tour. If they're playing stadiums doing crazy light shows and stuff, they have gotten to a certain level. But usually they do follow the same standards that Western artists do in terms of doing smaller theaters, then arenas, then stadiums.
So Stray Kids,
Yes.
is your main band.
Stray Kids
Alt
is my
group.
Your alt group. Okay, so the alt or ultimate is for the group. The bias is for the person in the group. The wrecker is for the home wrecker that's gonna like you more than your ultimate. For your bias. I get it.
You can also
you're doing great, Chris. Like that was really
I love
impressive. I'm
this.
proud of you.
That's great.
Yeah,
I love this.
proud of you.
For me, it's U2. Bono is my bias, and my alt is probably Larry Mullen Jr., the drummer.
You almost said it, your wrecker.
Your record.
Huh? He's my
Your
wrecker.
wrecker is
Yes,
the-
he's my wrecker.
Yeah.
And
You
and he
can
wrecks
also
those-
have
he
an
wrecks
alt
those drums.
bias, by the way. If you are a multi fan where you like multiple groups, then
Okay.
your alt group, your bias of your alt group is usually your alt bias.
It's like the One Ring,
Yeah.
the one ult to rule them all,
So like let's
the one bias
if
to rule them
you
all.
let's say you're a
Okay,
fan
yeah.
of,
Give
like-
me an example. Use actual names for this, so I understand what you're saying.
Okay, so for me right now, my alt group ranking is BTS, 17, Stray Kids, and TXT. That's kind of where I'm at.
In that order.
And I have a different bias in all of those groups.
Okay.
So my alt bias, though, so if of those 4 groups, I have 4 different biases, and my
Yes.
alt bias is Jungkook because that's my ultimate. Like that's my bias from BTS.
He's the guy.
He's so out of my 4. I love these groups. He's like that's my number 1 dude.
Is he
Right.
in the military right now?
No, he is releasing his
Okay.
first solo album on Friday, and then he is to announce his military plans by the end of the year.
Wait, is that the thing you have?
No, this is so this is for my second group, 17th Heaven, or the 17, and this is their new album, 17th Heaven. So this is
That's very cute. Okay.
yeah, and
Oh
this
wait,
is
so this is a CD?
yes, and this is very specifically their Carrot version. So Carrot is their fan group name because their whole thing is like diamonds, so it's Carrot, CARAT.
Okay.
And there's 3 main versions of the album. There's a kit version, there's a Weverse version, which is the digital version, and then they have the Carrot version. So inside this, it is themed to a specific member of the group, and you don't know which member of the group it's themed to until you open it.
Okay, who are we hoping for?
We are hoping for my bias for 17 is Mingyu.
Mingyu.
Mingyu, Mingyu.
Mingyu.
Not to be
Okay.
confused with Mingao, who's my bias from 17.
Those two people are definitely not the same person or in the same
They're
band.
not. To
They are in the
be
same
make it
band.
easier, Robyn's that Mingao is his like given name in the group. His like stage name is the 8, so that's easier to remember than
The 8.
The
the
8.
8.
Yeah.
So and then the rest of them are 9. They add up to 9, and then they're 17. I get it. Okay.
Well, there's
So wait,
13,
are we-
There's 13 members of 17.
Oh my
And
god.
then there's 3 teams within 17. So 13 members plus 3 teams makes one group 17. I also fought this band so hard because I was like, I refuse to stand a group that is 13 members and calls themselves 17.
I actually started listening and getting into 17 before Meg. And Meg told me, do not tell me about them. I refuse. I don't want to, like, I know that I will like them and I will not get into, I can't. So it was basically like the same thing of how I was resistant in the beginning. she was resistant to 17. And then I stopped talking to her about it. And she went to a different event with someone else who started talking to her about it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Meg, like they rose as her second favorite group. And she now knows way more than I ever will.
I went to a birthday party and the party was watching K-pop videos and it was her birthday. So I couldn't say, don't watch the group that you want to watch. And so I got manipulated a little bit.
Happy
Not
birthday.
really.
I
It was
mean,
a
I
trap.
don't know, that's not a manipulation in as much as you went to a friend's birthday party. That's it.
Yeah. And it was the same thing of like, they were like, I was like, just teach me their names so that I understand what you're talking about. And knowing the trap, I was like, I just won't pick a bias. I know enough now. I can learn the names, just not pick a bias. And then
But now we know Mingyu. Mingyu's the guy.
that's my guy, my giant golden retriever boy.
All right, so as you start opening this, I'm going to say
Yeah.
that there's a group called B2B, and one of the rappers, Binyok, put out a song where the whole point, the whole theme of the song was, as soon as you are vaguely interested in me, it's a trap, and we already have you. And that is exactly what we're talking about. As soon as you're
Yeah,
vaguely interested and you just want to learn a name, you're already in.
He's
Oh,
crazy.
great. This is
Oh, we're about
Whoa.
to find out.
Oh,
This
okay.
is- okay.
Exciting.
Okay.
Oh,
So it's open. All right. So as you can see, there's a track list on this side.
cute.
mhm.
Here is the
17
lyric
heaven.
book with photos and stuff in it. I'm
Wow,
just gonna.
okay.
I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. So this has lyrics and their thank yous in it.
Okay.
Okay.
Looks nice.
This is the
looks nice.
actual CD.
Cute.
Okay. Oh, so it does not come in a jewel case. Cool.
Sometimes
No.
it does, sometimes it
Some-
doesn't.
Yeah, it depends.
Interesting.
Okay, so we have pulled a DK Carrot version album, which we love DK. He's on the vocal team. And for this particular version, because it's the Carrot
teams.
version, it's themed to one member. So I have this packet here. You can see how thick it is.
Oh,
Those are all photo cards?
So these are all photo cards, and because it's the DK version, these are all
DK
They're
photo
all DK?
cards.
DK photo cards, and he's in the super
Amazing.
cute raincoat.
cute.
Cute. But
How would you-
because
Wait,
again,
what's on the back of the photo cards? Is there like
Oh.
stats?
no, it's just
Oh.
like the name of the album and the credits.
Man, I wish there was stats because these are baseball cards. Like, come on.
Basically, and so
Which
then
is
you
left.
also get a little like
That's right.
this is like a little like binder album for you to put all of his cards in. It has,
Aw,
but then here's back to
this
what
is the cutest thing ever.
Tamara was talking about. They're getting smarter. So like I've pulled the DK version, and they have these are what we're going to call the standard cards for this
Okay.
album, are the standard DK. They've also included 4 random cards of other members.
Oh, very good, very
So-
good.
So if my bias is Mingyu, you not only want to pull a Mingyu version of the album, you have to buy 4 versions of it in order to get his 4 random cards as well. But we're gonna open it.
Right,
so
okay,
you
we're,
can see.
we're sending good vibes for you. So you
Come
can pull your
on,
bias.
Mingyu. Come on, Mingyu.
Sprinkles.
Okay, so at the top we have Woozy, who is the
Love
producer of the group. We love Woozy. Who do we have? That's Hoshi or Tiger
Hoshi.
Harange.
He's dancer.
Yeah. Oh, there's Robyn's bias, the 8.
Oh, snap. Look at him.
Okay, and then we have June, who's also in
June.
the performance team.
Wait, is
So,
he giving the
there's-
finger? Is June giving
No,
the
he's just
finger?
pointing.
With
They
his middle
would
finger.
never, Chris.
Is that his
Pointing at the cloud
Wait,
above his head.
pull
It's
pull
just-
back
it's-
closer to your camera.
Wait,
That's
let me
not
get
your
this
camera.
No, it's his pointer
No, is
finger.
that-
It's just like
Okay.
it's because he's doing his thumb in a way where it makes it look like it's.
Meg, are they completely random or are they by line?
They're random because Woozy's on the vocal line.
Okay.
I just happen to have 3 performance members of the 4.
Oh.
It's
And they're all wearing the
honestly-
same yellow raincoat.
Yeah, the concept for the Carrot version was this like raincoat situation. It's okay though, because so that friend Caroline, whose party I went to, and she got me into this, she also bought a Carrot version randomly this weekend, and she pulled Mingyu, so she has the Mingyu version, and DK is her bias, so now we just get to trade.
Perfect trade.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're both
Yeah.
very excited. So
Oh, and another thing about the albums and how smart they are is that they also have multiple versions of the same. So they'll have like a deluxe version that's like bigger and has a much more stuff. They'll have a midline version where it's like if you don't want a poster, but you want like a photo card, and like it's a smaller version of it, and then they'll have that just the straight up CD. Oh, also they have a really fun thing that's like a mini CD, and it's like a keychain, and it comes this big, and then you scan it on your phone, and then it uploads the whole album to your phone, and it has like photo cards and poster, like a poster card, like all kinds of.
That's so
Like,
cool.
yeah, it's super cute.
Yeah. They
Again,
have digital versions. Yeah.
so
Here's
smart. It's the smart.
An example of what she's talking about. This is Stray Kids' last comeback. So they had.
Wait, explain to me the comeback. You explained this to me today, and like I want to nail down
Comeback is just
some of the terminology.
is a word for a new single or a new album. So that's
even though they're releasing more than one a year, they're still calling it a comeback.
They were spread out a little bit more before. And also, you know, when they would go to do their mandatory military service in the boy groups, it would always be a big deal for the comeback post military service, because it's the first time not all going to be together. And, you know, it was 3 years then in terms of each individual service. Now it's 18 months, but still it'll take about 3 years to get everybody to cycle through.
Yeah. So basically, anytime they release a new album, mini album, whatever it is, they call it a comeback, and they do multiple versions. So this was Stray Kids' last one that came out in June, and it was called 5 Star. They have multiple versions. So there's 3 of what's called the regular album. These are CDs.
Are those...
They are.
Wait, you have 3 copies of this album?
Yes. So there's different.
Minimum 3.
Minimum. So they do a different photo shoot. They do a different photo shoot for each album. So there's different photos and pictures, and they come with different photo cards. So those are the 3 regular version albums. And then they also did a limited edition version.
Ooh. Oh, that's pretty.
So they have different covers and art, and there's different imagery in all of them.
Oh, that's like a full-on book.
Yes. So
they're all books. Jesus.
Yeah, because it's filled with photos of them, and like each of them has a different concept. So, and then each of them, if they have a different concept, then like the photo cards that come with each album are different. They have different outfits, they have different poses, sometimes different hair. If we're getting real crazy.
Okay.
How much does an album cost?
Oh, it depends.
Yeah, depending on what version you get, where you get it from, and all the bells and whistles and stuff. If you're getting one of the smaller versions, like the Weavers version that Megan was talking about, they can be like $10. And then if you're going all the way up to a limited edition version, if they're putting in a bunch of extras and, you know, tchotchkes and stuff, then sometimes those will be like $30.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sometimes, that's not bad.
No, it can be 40 if they're like crazy. Like I think Taman is his, it's like a box. Like it's like a physical
the guilty box.
Yeah, the guilty box. That one's going to probably be 40 to 50. Because it
was only 22, 23.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
No,
I was expecting to be way more.
Because it's cardboard.
Yeah, because it's cardboard. But usually when they're like physical, like when they're chunkier, like fatter things, then they tend to be more expensive.
Like BTS released in spring 2022, they released like an anthology album called Proof, and that was $60.
Yeah. I got that at Target, actually.
Yeah.
I got it at multiple places.
Yeah.
What, Megan?
Do I have it with me?
How many copies of that do you own?
Copies of Proof? Sure. I have 2 of the deluxe version. I have 2 of the standard version, and then I have the collector's edition, which was a whole other beast by itself.
The collector's edition is a weapon. It weighs so much that you could literally beat someone with it and go to prison.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. Let's see. What do I have? Anything? I'm gonna take my camera off for a second because I think I might have something near me here to show off.
I don't like. Okay, let me go back to my list. There's still so many things I need to know.
We were talking about concerts before we got sidetracked by albums.
Okay, so I know, Robyn, you've been to Stray Kids.
I have been to so many K-pop concerts, I can't even tell you. I've seen Stray Kids perform.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen Stray Kids in concert, as in one of their headlining shows, 6 times. I've seen them perform at KCON 2 times.
And this is just in the last 2 years?
Correct. And if you count that Megan, bless her heart, got me into their very first late night performance at Jimmy Kimmel Live, then I have technically
I do
seen
count that.
9 times.
Now, are they the K-pop band you've seen the most?
They are.
Okay.
I've seen, yeah, they're the ones I've seen the most. And then I saw BTS Megan twice. She has seen BTS way more times.
You've seen BTS 5 times? Aren't
yeah.
they
Very
like
impressive.
split up now because of the military?
They are quote unquote.
I don't know how it works.
Focusing on individual activities is
Meaning
the
some of us
verbiage.
are doing solo albums and some of us are doing our required service.
They are all
Okay.
doing solo albums, and then when they finish their solo albums, they're all heading to do their mandatory military service. Yes. But I saw BTS, so they did 4 shows at SoFi Stadium in winter of 2021, and I went to 3 of those 4 shows. And then they did another 4 shows in Vegas, and I went to 2 of them with Robyn.
Oh,
That's where Ticketmaster used to work.
I became a BTS
Ticketmaster. I just want to note Ticketmaster has never worked. I've been using Ticketmaster since the early 90s. Ticketmaster has been a scam from the jump. That's all.
I just want to throw out there more shout out and love for Megan. I became a BTS fan right after the LA SoFi tickets went on sale, but before the concerts happened. So I could not go when the concerts happened because they were already sold out. And I hadn't really learned yet about the fact that you could get last minute tickets that weren't ridiculously priced. And I was not willing to spend thousands of dollars at that point. So like she coached me through the process of how to get concert tickets, how to join the fan club, like what to do, everything while I was in the airport on getting ready to go to a trip the day that they announced the Vegas dates. And
my God,
coached me like a pro and then like worked through everything with me. And thankfully we were able to go to those 2 of the 4 shows because I remember sitting on her couch in December watching the replay of the one of the shows or concerts that they had, like in tears because it was so good, going like, I hope I get to see them live. And then I got to see them live, and that was my very first K-pop concert. It started it all, and then from there it went crazy.
Wow. Because like, look, I have my favorite bands, and I have bands that I've seen live a number of times, but that you've seen your favorite 6 times in 2 years is
8 times.
Wait, who have you seen?
8 if you count K-pop.
Oh, 9 times.
Yeah.
Because I count Jimmy Kimmel Live. I saw Sting at the Tonight Show. I've been to a Sting concert. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
So then, yes.
Okay.
To make him alive, I've seen Stray Kids 9 times in 2 years.
And you've seen BTS 5 times.
Yeah.
Do you
seen BTS 5 times? But then I also saw August D, which is a member of BTS. We saw his solo show. The 3 of us saw it together.
Aw. Okay, but like of your 4 alts, we'll say, have you seen any of them more than you've seen BTS? Have you seen any of the other 3?
No.
Or have they just not made it yet?
I have not seen 17 yet because that only happened like in the past few months. But they're getting ready to announce their US tour. And I've seen Stray Kids 3 or 4 times. So close. Wow. Just like straight, because like again, BTS is a lot harder to get around, and Stray Kids is like just come more frequently. So
yeah.
And then he also tours very often. But TXT's first tour out of the pandemic there was a lot of controversy around it because they were playing venues that were way too small for them. They were playing at theaters that only sat about 5,000 people, even though we already knew at that point that they could have filled arenas. So there were a lot of people that couldn't get tickets, and for their very first tour, a lot of people were very sad that they couldn't go.
Oh,
So
that
people,
sucks.
there were fans who wanted to see them who could not get to that very first tour, but they came back around pretty quickly. And for their second tour that they just wrapped up recently, they were doing arenas, and they ended at BMO Stadium here in Los Angeles, which was, I think, their biggest venue in the U.S. so far.
And you were there for that.
I was, yes.
I remember your photos and videos from that.
Yeah.
Well,
Most groups other than Stray Kids, I've seen live 2 to 3 times ish.
Okay.
That's sort of my like. They come around once a year ish, and then I'll see them once in a while because I really enjoy them. But Stray Kids, I have to see them I can't not see them if they're close by. Does that make sense?
What if Stray Kids comes to Florida, where I live, and I'm like, Robyn, if you come out, I will go to a Stray Kids concert.
She'll come out.
Do you wait, Chris?
Yeah.
If you go to a Stray Kids concert, Chris, are you going to commit to buying a light stick?
Ooh.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't have my Stray Kids one with me. It's on the shelf, but like
I have I have my Taylor Swift bracelet somewhere, but that won't work. So I'll have
that
to buy
was
one of those.
when all of my friends started going to Taylor Swift, like, oh my God, these light up bracelets. I was like, they're light sticks. She's doing light sticks. Get on board with me.
I will note Taylor Swift has done the light up bracelets for her past few tours. If you go watch that one on Netflix, but I will say, and this might be K-pop influence forwarding technology, because that's something else. I love a side of the music industry that pushes forward tour technology, making live shows cooler. And something I noticed, and I'm wondering if this came from K-pop, is like when I went to Eras, they could draw pictures out of the lights in the audience.
Yeah, that is so they
100%.
when you get to your K-pop show, there's usually an app assigned, like based on your group. There's an app with a light stick, and you put in your seat into the app, and you connect your light stick view. So they are controlling it the whole time. They are changing the lights of the sections for the whole thing. They can spell out messages. They can do the whole thing. And something really cool is also like they've been doing a lot of online concerts during the pandemic. And for some of them, you can sync your light stick to the online concert, and they'll do it with the crowd that's at the stadium, like actually in person. And you're in your room and they can do it. That's a little bit, that's not every group, but like usually every group has
the cutest thing ever, though. Oh, so much of this is
it's the most adorable thing ever. It is so much about serotonin. Like, this is the longest. So generally when I was paying attention to K-pop, I would go away for like a year or two and then come back and do like a deep dive in like the summer. So I'd spend like a month or two. And I'd be like, okay, who's out? And I just like go on YouTube and look at videos, and then I go away for a little bit. So starting at the beginning of the pandemic, this is the longest consecutive time that I've paid attention. So it's really interesting also, because again, I'm also doing that thing of, I know how I am and I want to spend a lot of money or something. So I'm trying to keep an arm's length at this other thing that I would be very much into spending a lot of money at. So it's always been this like just burst of adorable energy and just great. I mean, even when they're doing like very adult things and everything like that, it's just the energy, the energy that's around it, and the people that you meet in the fandoms usually. Like, I have the only concert I've been to in the last 5 years probably that wasn't a K-pop concert was I went and saw Okuj for his kind of 50th anniversary of hip hop, like the Force tour, and the vibes are so very different. So in fact, just not even being in an audience where it's like mainly straight guys was like, wow, if this is not a football game, I don't know what that's like. Energy is so very different, but it's like everybody's really friendly. You can talk to people and sitting next to you, and like, I've made friends just randomly talking to them for like 6 minutes, and like people give out like freebies. They give out like photo cards. Man, if I hadn't moved and had any of my stuff put away, I'd have so much stuff I could show you, but I can't.
This to me feels like a lot of what like Deadhead culture and Fish culture was back in the day, but like without the drugs, because it's a similar vibe. Oddly enough, Taylor Swift, where everybody's friendly and happy and joyful and just excited to be there, and they're trading bracelets and they're trading tchotchkes and keychains and like all this crazy stuff. I love this. I want this K-pop influence to go wider.
I
Like, just do it.
completely agree. I go to concerts a lot. I was dying during the pandemic because I missed that energy, and I learned about K-pop during the pandemic, so I had never been to a K-pop show before that. I mostly missed like smaller indie rock music type things, and then learning what K-pop concerts are, that they last almost 3 hours, that there's constant dancing and energy, and that everyone there is dressed up in various ways and supporting their group and kind to each other and just having so much fun. It's such an amazing environment that it became addictive. And I think that's why, like, I'll spend money on merch, I'll spend money on albums, like I'll buy all that stuff because I support these groups. But my biggest thing that I chose to put my money on is going to these shows, because the energy that you get there and the vibe that you get when you watch your groups perform, you can't get there you don't get that from anything else. The serotonin rush is insane. So yeah, they're amazing.
I could show a little bit of I don't know if this is going to come up, but we went and saw it in Hypen, so I don't know how well you can see it, but you kind of see the little lights and how they're changing at the bottom. That's live and tuned to the show. So yeah,
that's so see, I love that. Like,
yeah, no, it's great. And also, I just want to shout out and hype in, because I call them the Spooky Boys, because their theme is that it has a supernatural theme, and the videos all have storylines in them. And if more people did nerd stuff in their theme, you'd be like 17, for example. Their song "Super" is basically likening them to the DBZ crew, the Dragon Ball crew. And I was like, and so I was aware of 17. Again, it was that thing of trying not to get into them. And then I was like, oh, the new video came out. I'll watch their new video. And I was like listening to it, and I was like, did he just say Goku? And I was like, what's happening? And so then I did a minor dive, and I was like, and then I'm in a Slack channel at work where there's K-pop fans. So I went on there and I was like, Carrots, I demand you show me where the weeb is. Which one of them is the nerd? And it's very fun, and it's a great video. Watch the video. If you want to see grand music video dance spectacle, Super is a great example of that. They have 1 billion dancers in it. It's amazing. Watch that video.
I always, whenever I get like the interested people of like, okay, like show me a K-pop video just to show me what it's like. I always go, do you want the most impressive or do you want the most relatable or most accessible? And when they say impressive, Super is the video that I pull up. Because I was like, watch this. This is peak K-pop ability.
And their songs are very addictive. Oh, so go ahead, Robyn.
No, you go.
Oh, I was gonna say their songs are very there's a thing that they call forbidden songs, which are songs that are so catchy that they ban them from being played during big testing periods. And one of my favorite, I don't know, are they my ultimate favorite group? I don't know, but I love Shiny. Shiny is I love them so much, and they have multiple songs that get on that. Like they have, no group has songs that stick in my head like Shiny does. Every time they have a new album out, at least one song on it just sticks in my head really, really hard. So yeah, they're very catchy. So and also they're one of the elder statesmen. They're like only in their early 30s, but they've been around for 15 years now. When Taemin debuted, he was like 14, so he's like 30 now. And so, but like they're second gen, and so they're one of, and because it's such a young, relatively young genre, there's not as many people who've been in it for a really long time, because it also there's a lot of burnout in there because they go so hard, and a lot of people leave and they don't want to come back, or they go on to act, which is I'm sure much more chill than doing their stuff. And sometimes they do both. 2PM is another one of, actually they're the oldest, I think, K-pop group. They're all 40-ish. So they're from a male's perspective, they just came back. They just came back together and did a whole album drop, and they're touring right now. So and a couple of them are actors, and they're and they're very big. And so you can go back to any period of time and say, hey, like, what's your flavor? What do you want to see? What's, it's easier modern from a modern perspective because there's so many more videos. But like, I like showing people older stuff too, because yeah, it's a deeply unserious but very serious pursuit.
I also just want to give a shout out to Tamara for teaching me about Shiny and introducing me to the gift that is Taman. We went to KCON together and saw him perform, and even though he only did, I think it was like 3 songs,
I think, yeah.
it was otherworldly. Like it changed. I can't even describe what it was like leaving that show, seeing someone who's such an icon in the K-pop world perform. And I've watched a lot of groups perform, but I haven't watched a lot of solo artists. And granted, he is part of a group, but he was there performing solo. And it was just incredible. And she also let me borrow her light stick because I left my other light stick at home, and it was great. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a shout out for teaching me and introducing me to him. And he just had a comeback, I think, yesterday.
Just dropped.
Yeah. So if anyone's listening and doesn't know who he is, guilty.
For context, Chris and Tamar, you can correct me if you're wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong at any point. For context, Taman, modern K-pop has been given a lot of cred for like gender bending and sort of like redefining toxic masculinity, but like Taman is he is the first, he walked so everybody else could run. And prior to that,
okay,
K-pop, especially, we're like very hard on like very like stereotypical masculine images and like dominant sexual imagery. And Taman came in and was like, I'm gonna play with this, and I'm gonna wear makeup, and I'm gonna wear skirts, and I'm gonna play with all this different stuff. So like when you see these groups now that are embracing more like feminine themes or doing more effeminate things, like it comes from Taman. So he is considered like the holy godfather of like the gender bending that is going on in modern K-pop.
Yeah, he's like the idol's idol.
Wow.
Like Hoshi is one of the, I think the fandom calls him the most successful the most successful Shawwall, like the biggest, like, because he keeps doing stuff with them. He just did the challenge video with him, and I saw that earlier. So like everyone's like, he had like their first album that he talks about and got it signed by everybody. Like it's very cute. It's very cute. And but like, yeah, they all kind of, because they debuted a little earlier, they're a little younger. Shiny as a whole also was a little prettier overall than the average group. And so as a group, they were like that. But Taman really kind of took it, like he was just talking about it on August D's show that dropped, because the album dropped at the same time. Yes. So he's talking about that and how he's like his gender neutral kind of vibe. He's wearing a whole skirt in the video. He don't care. When he's just being like his authentic artistic self, which is really great.
We'll wrap up here pretty soon, but I'm very curious because I feel like it's not as big of a thing in Western pop music. Are there K-pop girl groups?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Huge. Yes.
Huge. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
That we haven't mentioned them. Yes, they're a major part of the industry, and yeah.
You just happen to pick 3 people who mostly follow boy groups, but they are,
which is fair. I just like, because when I think of like the late 90s pop explosion here in the States, it's like it's outside of the Spice Girls, which are, I would argue, an anomaly. It's singular female singers, but boy bands. So I didn't know if that was more, I didn't know if that was like, and I always found that very interesting. Like, why not group up more women together? But I'm not in the music industry, so I didn't know if it was the same over there, or if that like girl groups are as big of a force there as
they are. They're just as big. Like historically, Boa is probably the first biggest female artist, but they had other groups there like SES and Finkel. And then there's Lee Hayori, who came out of, I believe it was SES. I'm sorry if I messed that up because it's been a while since I've thought about this. Girls' Generation was like the biggest. They debuted around the same time as Shiny. They're in the same company, and they have a lot of their individual members are still active. They just did a reunion earlier this year. Time means nothing. It was earlier this year, late last year, and they just came back and did a reunion. So they did a whole blitz and like reality shows and all that kind of like, their reality shows are a little bit different because it's like they'll have a thing where like they go on a weekend trip and they do little sub games and things like that. It's actually very cute. So they just got back together. 2NE1 is one of the biggest ones to CL from there. She is probably the biggest international from that group, but everybody is doing their own thing.
Didn't they just get back together and perform at Coachella last year? 2NE1?
Yes, CL was playing, and so yeah, they came back. It was a huge deal. I watched it. I was losing my mind. I love playing. Currently, Twice I would say Twice and Blackpink are probably the two biggest girl groups.
Yeah,
internationally
for sure.
Yeah,
I feel like New Jeans is on their heels just because like New Jeans has one of the most consistent like the amount of hit songs that they're putting out per record is
it's very,
insane.
very
like
big.
The number of huge hits they've had for a group that debuted last year is nuts.
And they do a sort of like 90s kind of R&B flavored pop. That's kind of how it feels, very throwback to me, which I mean they also kind of dress like that. For new groups, New Jeans is really big. Le Seraphim also really big. XG is, I don't know how big they are for everybody. I find them fascinating. I think they're really great, but they're interesting because all the members are Japanese, I believe. I don't think they have any Korean members in it, and all their songs are in English, but they're still considered a K-pop group. Very fascinating. There's another group called Black Swan, which is not super big, but they're interesting in that they have their leader is a Senegalese-born Black woman. And there's an Indian and a Korean Brazilian member, and one more person who I'm forgetting. Are there two Brazilians? I don't remember. But yeah, they are an international K-pop group, which is really great because we're going to get deep into a little bit of thing that is also a whole nother episode. But seeing this genre that is basically American R&B and hip hop, and then having it no Black people anywhere is real weird for me, even though I know how that works, but I know that they're also Black Koreans, but I also know how that works. So now it's nice to see that they are, from when they're doing international groups, they're taking that in consideration, and they're not just going for regular white European girls or just staying in Asia, because there's Indonesian and Thai, there's other Asian country representation in there, but not a lot outside that. So
there are also boy-girl groups like Card, they have boys and girls in them.
I love Card.
Do they sing love songs about each other?
No, their songs are their songs are a little more spicy. And one of their members is from LA. Their
love is.
Well, that's true. There is love. I mean,
do they sing songs about making sweet love to each other?
Yes, they sing songs about breakups and relationship stuff, but their last song was called Cake, and it was not about the dessert, but it was about dessert, but not that.
They have also been talking. They've been talking about some bisexual themes over at Card. It's a very progressive time over at Card. We love Big Matthew and that whole crew.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to date each other?
It's going to vary from company to company and based on how young the group is.
Yes.
Okay.
Card actively does not date each other. They are very clear about not happening. And they're I know the fandom is weird. There's that whole kind of toxic part of the fandom, in that it's hard for the groups to publicly be friends depending on how their fandom is. So there's probably a lot more friendship and even low-key dating than we know of. And that's probably for the best that we don't know about it, just because not everybody is mature and treats them like humans that have feelings for other people like that.
Okay. Cool. I don't eat like honestly. I feel like we're gonna have to do this again at a certain point because
Part
there's
two, part
still
two, part two.
a lot. And honestly, one day I just want to go through merch stuff just cause like that's the part, that's the stuff I like.
So
Like
fun.
again, I mentioned this earlier. I was so after seeing the kind of stuff K-pop does and after going to the Taylor Swift show, like I know what modern concert merch is like and it's great. However, I went to see U2 in the Sphere thing and like, this is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be like a new age. No, it was just like it's always been because they're an older white dude band, which I understand. I love them anyway, but it was just like we have like 5 different shirts that are all $50 a piece and a hat, and that's it. And I'm like, give me cool stuff. Like I feel like when you go to a K-pop show and you hit the merch table, because you hit the merch table, right?
Yes.
You don't just buy all your merch online. Okay. Is there a range of...
That's
both. Another topic, because depending on who the group is, sometimes the merch line involves camping overnight. So it depends on how much you really want that merch.
That's okay. Yeah. But like when someone hits the merch table at a K-pop show, is everything crazy expensive, or is there sort of a spectrum of... I like, because I like the idea of like, I spent a lot of money to come to this show. I want a souvenir, a token of my being here, but I don't want to spend $50 on a t-shirt that I'm not going to wear because I don't like it very much.
Don't get me wrong, you do have your $50 t-shirts. Like that is still very much present. But there's pickets and bracelets and keychains and...
What's a picket?
It's literally a fan, like a fan that old ladies would bring to church, but it has their face on it.
It's like a hard plastic sign
they hold up with their face on it.
Okay, that's cute.
I wish I had one to show you, but I made a rule that I would never buy one because I have no purpose for them, and I get really annoyed when people in front of me hold them in front of my face at a concert and I can't see. So, sorry.
And some groups give out free things. At the Hype and Show, they gave out, which was also very smart. It was a album sleeve, and it had like mystery information on it because they hadn't announced what their next album is going to be, but like the actual physical vinyl. So it was a sleeve for the vinyl that was exclusive to that tour. So that incentivizes you to pre-order or get the vinyl, so then you can put it in the thing. And I thought that was very cute. And they'll have like fan signs too that they'll give out, so that, because they know everybody's not going to bring something sometimes, so you can hold up a little fan sign and it says some different greetings or like sentiments on it, or ments as they are referred to.
And you can buy VIP sound check tickets, which are basically you get into the show early and they perform like 3 shows in their casual gear, but also means like you're just closer to the stage. And when you get those tickets, they also come like similar to Taylor. It's like you get a little package with like
a box
exclusive merch that's like for Stray Kids it was like a fan and a phone charger and a mouse pad kind of thing. It depends on, like, it varies based on what is the theme of what's happening, etc.
I want a Stray Kids mouse pad.
Given Christopher's
do you want my Stray Kids mouse pad? It's here somewhere.
I know. Were they doing that because was it tech because Bang Chen always throws his electronics? Is that why they did that?
I think they very much were like, we want things that people will actually use. So it was like a phone charger, battery block,
and a mouse pad.
Listen, you go through them. It may take a couple of years, but eventually you're going to be like, "Ew, that's gross," and then you need a new one.
And one of them was too.
I need a new one. Yeah.
Can I just before we cut it off? I feel like we've talked about a lot of different groups, and I feel like there's probably some that we didn't talk about, and there's going to be some K-pop fans listening that are upset that their favorite groups were not mentioned. So I feel like I just want to, if anyone is listening and we have not mentioned your favorite group, please do not be offended. It is not because we meant to purposely ignore them. We are all multis. We're just talking about who we know. I happen to be a Stay Army MOA first, but I also love 17 and Monsta X and Shiny and The Rose, and like I could name a ton of groups that we just didn't get into talking about today. So I, if anyone else wants to shout out any other groups or any fandoms or anything so that people don't get upset, I'm just letting you know we love all K-pop.
Did you say you're a Stay Ultra Monster Martini mix? What?
Stay Army Moa.
Stay Army Moa.
Yeah, so Stray Kids, BTS, Tomorrow by Together. Those
Each
are my
fandom has their own name.
Monster X's are called Mumbebe.
Oh, wait. So
Seven.
Stray Kids fans are called Stay?
Yeah, because you make Stray Kids stay.
Oh, that's adorable.
Stray Kids everywhere all around the world, Chris.
The BTS Army one that works.
Yeah.
But
and then,
you made them stay is cute.
Yeah. And the reason why it's stay is because when you take stray and you remove the R, you're our reason, then it's stay.
Oh.
So yeah. So
stay. And whose name is Momoa?
Moa. Moa. It stands for
Moa.
Moments of Alwaysness. It's Tomorrow by
God. Oh my God. Moments of
Remember how Tamara was saying we love an acronym in K-pop?
Love it. Love it.
Can you say it one more? Moments of awesomeness?
Alwaysness.
Alwaysness. That makes way more sense. Moments of alwaysness.
You can
are there
them talking about
Army stands for Adorable Representative MC for Youth.
Listen, I'm telling you, when you don't look look under the rug sometimes, because you're not going to mix sense when you know what it is.
Yeah, that makes them sound more like a cop.
You're a cop. You're supposed to tell me if you're a cop.
Yeah, that sounds way more like. Okay, so are there any other bands you guys want to shout out in case the hordes come for you?
Well, there's so many of them. I mean, we mentioned Monster X already. ATs. The Boys, SF9, B2B I mentioned briefly.
Zero Base One, yeah. ONF. They're a newer one. They're pretty good and enjoyable. I'm trying to think. There's a lot.
Some smaller groups that I've seen recently at small venues. Only One of and Kingdom. I don't know what I'm not a fan of this group yet, but I've seen some videos pop up in my feed, and I plan on looking into them. They're either called VAV or VAV. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, but I want to look into them more. But I'm really starting, now that I have like the big groups and all that stuff, I want to look into some of these up and coming groups too.
You want to be a part of the next wave.
Yeah. Also, I want to say ITZY, Red Velvet, Mamamoo, Kepler, Dreamcatcher,
G-Idol.
Yes, Tamara, who was the one we saw at KCON that I was like, I need to follow them because their live, it was a girl group and their live performance.
Everglow?
Everglow.
Yeah, Everglow was really good.
They were incredible live, and I want to look into them more.
Yeah.
What is Mamamoo?
Oh, Lapillus.
Oh, Lapillus. Yeah, them too.
Mamamoo
is
girl
go ahead.
Group. Go. You go.
Is it 4 members? 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yes.
4 members. They have very a lot of their music early on had like 40s jazz or classical music kind of vibes to the back of it, which is very interesting. And they also are a little bit more. So one of the reasons why I'm not into girl groups as much is that there's 2 kind of lanes that they tend to create them in terms of and who they push them towards. So there's one lane which is ultra cutesy, still in their school uniform, actually kind of being marketed towards middle-aged men, and it makes me very uncomfortable, so I don't always get into that. But then there's the other side where it's I don't know if this is officially what they call it, but I've heard it referred to as kind of girl crush groups, where they're designed for girls to get into them. And so Mamamoo, I believe, is one of the girl crush groups, and they're very they don't seem to have that thing where they're stuck at being cutesy and kind of twee for the presentation. So they're a little bit, they're a little bit more, they get to age up.
Mature.
They're a little more mature. They get to age up because Everglow seemed like that too, which I was appreciating. NGIL is another one that's kind of like that.
I've also heard that term as well, and I think the biggest group that is like that is Blackpink.
Blackpink, yes,
the group that most represents the girl crush groups.
And I know that name.
Mhm.
That name has penetrated to popular culture enough that I know of it. So that has to mean something.
Well, they've
Blackpink
done
is
like
in
they have
your
a
area.
Netflix documentary, and they did a duet with Selena Gomez. Like they've done lots of, and they performed at Coachella. They've done some.
Didn't they do a
major.
song with Lady Gaga too?
Did they?
I would not be surprised.
I mean, they're insanely talented. They also have huge social numbers. Like their reach is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they also are just like the music is really catchy as well. Can we also talk, like, I know this is all about fandom and how much we love this, but like this all comes down to the music. And like, I don't think that you get as invested in these people or spend money on the concerts, the albums, the merch, anything we've talked about, if you don't actually care about the music.
Yeah.
And like, for all different reasons and whichever group or groups you like, usually it comes down to what you musically like to listen to. And one thing that I found really interesting is like, I think, and why I was so reticent in the beginning to follow K-pop was because I had in the back of my head this idea that K-pop was just this sort of manufactured bubblegum pop, super like, I don't know how to describe it, but just that idea of like all these people pushed together, given a song that they have no involvement in the music whatsoever, told like, here, do this choreo. And it was all very bubblegummy. And then when I actually finally like opened myself up to listen to the music, it's not like that. K-pop, when you hear the term K-pop, it's actually more of an industry than like a genre. It's an umbrella term that encompasses so many different types of music. And there's groups and sounds for every type of person. One of the things that I was most excited to learn about is how much like rap and rock is actually within K-pop, and how much like some people call it noise music, but a lot of the like heavier, hard stuff is actually what I really like. And I think why Stray Kids rose to the top for me is because I like that kind of music. But in researching them, learning about them, a lot of these groups produce their own music. They are involved in it, in their sound, in the way they're marketed, all of that stuff. BTS, Rapline produces their own music. Stray Kids has 3RACHA producing their stuff. Woozi produces for 17. ATEEZ, like Hongjoong. I mean, there's a lot of these K-pop idols are actually writing and producing their own music, which I think is really cool. And so hopefully anyone who is interested in thinking like, oh, they're just bubblegum manufactured, like, no, listen. And if you don't like one group sound, you might like a different group sound.
Yeah.
And if you don't like any group sound, that doesn't mean it's not good. That just means it's not for you. And that's fine. We don't have to all love everything. We don't have to hate anything.
There you go.
That's the thing. I can honestly, I don't know where else to end it. So, one by one, please tell me, where can people find you online? What do you want people to know? If you don't want people to find you online, that's also okay.
You can find me on pretty much almost any platform at Misfits Tamara on the screen there. If you are watching, if you're listening, then it's MISFITS TAMARA.
Awesome.
I am also at Mego Inc. on the platform formerly known as Twitter. MEGGOINC. I'm not super active over there most days, but like we can hang out. I check in.
Yeah.
I'm very much the same way. Yeah. Robyn, do you want to do social? Do you?
I do social, but work related stuff, other things. I'm all very random. So if you are listening to this because you like the fact that we're nerds and like music and K-pop and stuff, you might want to tune in. You might not. But if you do, the platform formerly known as Twitter, my handle is I am Robyn Nicole. It's I am ROBYNNICOLE.
And also, ask Robyn about that time we were freaking vampires in the 80s in Chicago. Robyn is my RPG buddy. She got me into my first. We played like a one-off, a D&D one-off, or I came to one of your D&D sessions and played like an ancillary character. And then we were playing for a long time Vampire the Masquerade, and it was delightful.
Yes. For several years, that campaign went on. It's just paused right now. It's probably still going to go. I think
honestly, it pauses every now and then.
Yeah, we left off we went from the 80s into 1999, I think, or did we?
We're going into the. I think we crossed into I think we crossed into 2000 and then stopped.
Did we do Y2K? Okay, so yeah, we've got a 23 years to catch up on whenever we jump back in.
We sure do. Go ahead and like this video, this podcast, subscribe, leave a review, make it 5 stars. You know you want to. And come back next week where we will be talking about something I haven't decided yet. I think it's the Muppets, though. Ooh. So, I have a first-time guest popping in next week, trying to keep it so many good, new, fun people that I love. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you guys for being here. This was a lot of fun. Also, I feel like I know so much more now, and I'm gonna. I need someone to make me a playlist.
I will bring. We can collaborate, and I will set you up in Vegas, and I will help walk you through some basics.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because I get to see Megan in Las Vegas next week. Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.